Alright guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to enhance and clean up the eyes in Adobe Photoshop. The eyes are one of the most expressive parts of the face. It's important that we make them look good. Not only are we going to clean up just the eyes, we're going to clean up the bags and stuff, wrinkles around the eyes, and if needed, we're going to clean up the eyebrows. So, a lot to learn in this video. Let's try to keep it short and get going here. Let's start with these bags under the eyes. Almost everybody has them. We don't want to completely remove them. We just want to minimize them. Remember, our goal in retouching is to never make the skin look perfect because no one's skin is perfect. But we do want to make it look better. So let's start. Let's duplicate the background layer by pressing Control J. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to grab our, my best friend when I'm retouching is the patch tool. I feel it gives me the best control over what I'm trying to do. So grab your patch tool, keyboard shortcut J. And she's got a double line here, so let's just do these one at a time. I'm going to draw a circle around the first line here. And remember, patch tool works. You just click and drag it to a clean spot of the skin. And just like that, it's gone. But remember, we don't want it to be gone. We just want it to be minimized. So before we do anything, don't even make this little circle go away, because if you do, this option won't be available. We're going to go to Edit and choose Fade Patch Selection. You'll see that if I click away that circle, Edit Fade Patch Selection is no longer available. So you have to try to use the Fade tool right after you do something if you're ever going to use it. So this is a great time to use that. So here we go. I'll click and drag that away. I'll come up here and go to Edit Fade Patch Selection. And I'm going to just drop this down to, I don't know, it's going to be different for everybody. I can't tell you what to do. We still want to see the bag, the line. We just don't want it to be super obvious. So about 50% seems good. Now I'll go ahead and do this next one right here. Be careful. Make sure you draw nice, clean circles. Obviously, don't get up into the eyeball like that. That's going to cause trouble. I'm going to get a little bit of eyelash in there, but that should be okay. Drag it down to a clean spot. Come up here, Edit, Fade, Patch Selection again. This gives us nice control. It allows us to adjust for each individual line under the eye. Gives us a little more control. We could just do all of this and then lower the opacity of our layer, but then we wouldn't have the individual control for each one. Let's take a look at our before and after here. See, we really made those lines under the eyes a little more subtle. Let me do this one over here. This one's kind of just one big line that splits in half there. Splits in two, I should say, right there at the end. So I'm going to try and get the whole thing. Again, it's important. Drag it to somewhere clean. You wouldn't want to put it, see how she's got a little spot right there, a little spot right there. You wouldn't want to include these spots in where you're dragging. So try to find a nice clean spot where you can drag it and then let go. Then do your Edit, Fade, Patch Selection. And for this girl, around 50% has been the right amount. And then Control D will make that go away. Let's see my before and after. That's nice. That's nice. If you wanted to, you could even do the same thing with these right here. I typically don't unless they're pretty substantial, but on younger people, they're usually not that bad. So, very good. Now, let's take a look and do the eyebrows up here. See if we can't clean these up a little bit. This is actually surprisingly easy. Here's how to do it. We're going to go ahead and just stay on this same layer that we're on, layer 1, the one we did our bags with. And we're going to grab our lasso tool. Come up here and set your feather to around 10 pixels is a perfect feather to have. And that may be different on if you're using a larger or a smaller photo, but 10 is pretty good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line very carefully, basically through the part of the eyebrow that I want to get rid of, right about there. And then I'm going to come up, bring it back around, and let it go. So you can see I got this. I basically want to get rid of all of this up here and also have the skin up here. So, okay, so once you've drawn your selection around here, you're going to want to just click inside of it and move it up to a clean part of the skin. So right up there is perfect. And then I'm going to right-click inside of it, and I'm going to choose Layer via Copy. You could also just press Control J, but what that's going to do is that's going to make its own layer, and whatever was inside of there, it's going to put onto that new layer. Now I'll grab my Move tool, keyboard shortcut V, and I'm just going to click and drag what I just copied down and have it kind of cover up the eyebrow covering up the part that I decided I wanted to get rid of. This will usually blend pretty nicely, but it won't always. And what you're going to want to do is, if you didn't get a nice blend, is you need to mash these two layers together, layer 1 and layer 2. Easiest way to do that is to select them both by holding down the Control key and clicking on both of the layers. Then clicking on this little dude right here and clicking Merge Layers, or keyboard shortcut Control E will do that. And now I can again come over here, grab my patch tool, and maybe right here it didn't quite blend as well as I had hoped it would, so I'm going to just grab that and just blend that a little bit smoother together. Over here looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So now I would do the same thing with this eyebrow over here. I'll start here. This is tricky to do with a mouse, and I've been doing it for a long time, so I make it look easy. But take your time. Make sure you do a good drawing. Move this up to a clean spot. Control J. Switch to your Move tool. Drag this down. Right about there. Mash these two layers together by holding down Control and clicking on both of them, then pressing Control E. And then if you need to clean that up a little bit with the healing or patch tool or healing brush, go for it. Now, let's get started on the actual eyeballs themselves. And I'm going to, it's really easy to overdo this. So I'm going to make sure I do this on its own layer. So I'm going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to call this Eyes. And that way, if I overdo it, I can come in and just lower the opacity of this. So here we go. We're going to start with the Dodge tool. We're going to be using the Dodge tool, the Burn tool, and the Sponge tool. But we're going to start with the Dodge tool. And the Dodge tool makes things lighter. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to come up to the top, and I want to tell Photoshop to say, only make the midtones wider. Only make the midtones brighter. Ignore things that are really dark. Ignore things that are really bright. And let's just make the midtones brighter. And that's what that does. Exposure of 50 is way too high. I'm going to bring this way down to a little bit less than 10, 9, 8, 7. Anywhere around there will work. And then you're going to want to leave Protect Tones checked. I'm going to zoom in and make sure I'm working with a small, hard edge brush. That's probably a little too small. Let's make that just a little bit bigger. That's about right. I'm going to come in here and basically I'm just trying to lighten up this white part of her eyes. And again, it's okay for me to go over this part of the eyeball because Photoshop's going to basically ignore that because it's much darker. So my brush can hit that part in an effort to make sure I get everything on the eyeball. Okay, and then I would do the same thing on the other side. Now we still have these red lines in here from maybe not getting enough sleep or whatnot. Let's get rid of those by right-clicking on this and choosing the Sponge tool. We want this to be on desaturate. We want it to be about 20%, and as always, we want to uncheck vibrance. You might remember this from the teeth whitening. We use the exact same setting. So I'm going to come in here. This time I want to be a little careful. I don't want to get too much of the pupil here and the iris. So I'm going to try to avoid those. But I just want to come in here and just hit up everything that's got these red lines in it. We already lightened them up. Now we're going to just desaturate. We're going to take the color out of them just to kind of make them disappear. Again, we don't want little lines in the eyes to be completely gone because then it's going to look fake and unnatural. So that's what we did there with the Sponge tool. Alright, as long as we're here on the Sponge tool, let's switch this bad boy over to Saturate. And let's use that same brush. And let's come around the colored part of the eyes. Come in here. And we just want to saturate the color just a little bit. Make it a little bit more intense. Again, don't overdo it. Don't do too much, but you want to saturate those colors a little bit. Alright, looking good, looking good. Let's switch back to the Dodge tool. And we want to lighten up our midtones again. We probably should have just done this before when we had it out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten up, put a little moon right here on this eyeball. I want to lighten up the bottom half of the eye. Just about like that. And look at the before and after so far that we've got going on so far. You can see that we've saturated the colors there. We lighten up the bottom half, and that really makes a nice look on the eyes. And we're getting close to done. So as long as we're on the Dodge tool, let's keep lightening things. Let's switch this over to highlights. And now we're telling Photoshop to only brighten things that are already bright. And so we're going to make this catch light brighter. So we're going to just dodge the catch light there. You can see that's getting that nice and white. Let me show you the before and after now. where that eyeball is really starting to pop. So all we need to do now is make some of the things that are dark a little bit darker. And to do that, you guessed it, we're going to use the burn tool. We're going to start with it on midtones. And with that exposure, again, right around 8-9% is fine. We want a nice small brush. Well, it's just a smidge wider than see this dark line around the outside of the eye? Well, we're going to make that a little bit darker. So make your brush just a little bit wider than that. And here we go. Let's just come around here. And we're just going to darken this down just a little bit. Trying to focus on the outside here. Again, Photoshop's not going to do anything to this white part out here. There we go. And then let's switch this over to shadows. Leave all the settings the same. Make it a little bit bigger. And let's just darken the black part of the eye. Just boom. Just basically we're just increasing the contrast there. And that's basically it. Let's take a look at the before and after there. Boy, that really makes a difference there. Now, it's pretty common for people to overdo this, especially when they're first starting out. So make sure, if you feel like you overdid it, if it just looks too fake, and that's kind of why I like to do one eyeball at a time, is because then you can kind of compare them side by side. And if you did overdo it, that's fine. Just lower down the opacity here until it looks a little bit more natural, but still looks better. So let's take a look at overall what we did. We started with this right here, and if we're looking at just the left eye, or our left, you can see we made a nice little improvement there. And that is how you enhance and clean up the eyes on the face.